First stop of the day, we're at Place d'Orleans. Last time I was here, there were 2 frames of foundation that were on the side. I'm excited to see whether or not they filled those out. And we're gonna be adding a box because I have a feeling these guys are gonna be exploding in numbers quite soon. And I want to ensure they don't swarm. So first thing I'm actually gonna do is I'm gonna remove this. So that's called an entrance reducer, and the entrance reducer is really used for colonies that are not strong enough to protect themselves. I have a feeling when I open this up, there's gonna be plenty of bees, so I'm really not worried about other bees trying to get in. I have a feeling that these guys are just gonna be able to defend anything that's gonna come in. The 2 frames that we left that were foundation were the 2 frames, so frames 2 and 9. Let's see how well they've drawn these out. There was no wax on these last time I was here. Oh my God, they already have capped honey and tons of brood. I'm not even gonna look anymore. We're gonna go on this side. Oh yeah, this is great. We have mostly all nectar in here. I'm not seeing any eggs or anything, but that's totally fine. All I want to do is check these frames for swarm cells at this point. Where there's a nice heavy frame. This is nice. I see eggs everywhere. Yeah, it's gonna be perfect timing for another box for these guys. Full of brood. I'm seeing no swarm cells, which is exactly what I want to see. I know everybody wants to see the queen, but honestly, if I don't find her, I'm totally fine with that. I've seen enough to know that the queen is in here. If she's not spotted, I'm not too worried. All right, that's it. So what I've done here is I've added a second box, and the second box is full of foundation. Foundation is undrawn frames, meaning that they have to make wax to draw out those frames for the queen to lay in or for them to store honey. The reason I've done this, and I haven't used the queen excluder, which is going to be very important later, is the fact that the bees sometimes have a little bit of hesitancy to move through that queen excluder when there's absolutely nothing on top. By nothing, I mean foundation. If there's nothing drawing them or attracting them up to that second box, they have a tendency to want to stay in that bottom box and completely ignore the second one. By having no queen excluder, the bees are now able to move up into that second box, draw out those frames, and naturally the queen is going to follow them. So in 2 weeks, I'm going to take that queen excluder and I'm going to stick it in between these boxes. I have to find the queen, make sure that she's on the bottom, and put that queen excluder in there. There'll be a bunch of brood in the top box, but the bees will naturally want to take care of that brood. So they're going to force themselves up through that queen excluder and not be hesitant to move up and down through that excluder. So in 2 weeks, we'll find the queen, put her in the bottom box, place that excluder, have them hatch out, and they'll start filling that with just honey. All right, we're at Blair Towers. The goal today is to add 2 frames of brood to this hive. I have a feeling that they're not gonna be super strong. I only added about 3 frames of brood last time, so there should be bees in here, but not to the strength that I really think they should be. So I got 2 frames of brood full with bees from another hive, and we're gonna stick them right in here. They're gonna have no issues just amalgamating themselves into this hive. They've been queenless for about, I'm not gonna say 24 hours, but a little bit less than that. So they're gonna accept the queen pretty quickly. Yeah, this is pretty much what I expected. I'm gonna take out some frames that they have not touched. They're just starting to draw this frame out. Looks like they're putting resources into this. Oof, I'm getting smoked out here. Looks like they're putting resources into this frame. So this frame is very heavy. There's a nice frame of capped brood. So this is gonna really help with the population. Happy to see that. Oh, that's really not good. So something happened to the queen last time we were here, and unfortunately, I believe she's dead. I know that because these right here and right here, yeah, these are what we call emergency cells. And this is what happens when a queen dies suddenly and they need a new queen. So the queen died last time I was here, don't know why. And actually there's a brand new queen right in front of me. Right there, you can see a queen. But what I really want to show are these cells right here. So you can see that there is a cell that's open at the top right. And then we have another cell to the left. And I really hope the camera's able to grab this. That is a opened cell with what we call a window. The window is essentially when the queen, who's right there, emerges. She comes out and she stings. And actually, they haven't done it yet, but there's a dead queen inside. So we're going to open this up and show you. So I'm just going to tear this open. And there's a queen. There's her butt. And there's another cell right here that you can see that they've also opened up, and they're going to be destroying that cell. And you know what? Just because I'm not 100% sure, and I don't think that she is mated, mind you, she is large. I'm gonna leave this queen exactly the way that she is, just in case. And I'm going to help them out by adding frames of brood. All right, there should only be, I think there's 3 frames of brood in here. Yes, there is. Look how full this frame of brood is. This is gonna really help these bees. 1 frame. Oh yeah, look at that. 2 frames. Put the frame that they're slowly drawing out on the end here. So in 2 weeks, we're gonna come back. This is gonna be full of bees, and we're gonna put a box on these. Terminal. We are back. We've got 1 frame of brood. We're going to open this up. I added a ton of bees last time, so I'll be really interested to see just how much they've drawn out of those frames. Now, it's been about 2 weeks. I'm not expecting miracles here, but 1 frame, I'll be very happy. There's a good amount of bees coming in and out of this hive. This looks really good. Oh wow, they've almost drawn out all the frames. That is a pleasant surprise. Let's see what we got. Look at that. I mean, I love this. This is awesome. What's nice about this frame is that there's almost no eggs. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna put this to the side. Wow, these bees are busy. This is just covered in larvae. Might rearrange the hive just a little bit, have it make a little bit more sense, because there's, like, this frame is full of pollen. So let's do that. And now, time to add the frame cap brood. Look at all these bees. All that cap brood. It's a lot of bees. Just gonna make sure queen's not on this before I shake it. Just don't want to jostle her too much. And to be honest, I think I'm gonna add a box to these bees. Yeah, I think they're ready. It's amazing what a packed 5-frame nuke could do. So the next time I'm here, I'm sticking a queen excluder between the bottom box and the top box. What that's going to do is it's going to stop the queen from traveling in between boxes. So I just have to go through the top box to make sure she's not there, put the queen excluder on, and that means she could only lay in the bottom box. In the top box, the eggs and the brood that she's going to lay will hatch out, and then they'll do something called backfilling. So they will fill in those cells that had brood with nectar, and this whole box is going to be honey. Okay, we're back at Ashbury, and I'm really excited to see what we got in these hives. I did say I was going to boost these hives with a frame of brood, but looking at the last location, terminal, it seems as though they've been finding nectar and the hives have been really growing rapidly. So I'm gonna see whether or not maybe I could balance these guys But if they do need a frame of brood each, I have some in my vehicle. I'll just go grab some and put them in. So let's open these up and see where we're at on both sides. So I'm gonna try to count frames of brood here. Okay, beautiful capped brood. This looks good. More brood. Larva, brood. Oh, here's the queen. Here, I'll turn around. Happy to find her. Let's keep looking. Another nice frame of brood. Is there more on this side? Yes, there is. This is a frame of foundation that I put in, and they're drawing it out nicely. So I'm gonna keep this out because I feel like we're gonna still boost these guys with a frame of brood. Okay, so if I'm gonna take a frame out, it's gonna be this frame that they're drawing out. Let's open up the other hive and see whether or not it's strong enough to give something to this hive, or if they're also going to need a boost. Okay, looks like there's a bit more bees in this hive. Let's pull up the frame. I didn't have much on it. Oh, it's got much on it now. Wow. This is a frame of resources. It's just nectar. I think we might have one too many frames of resources in this hive. We definitely do. There's the queen right here. She's huge. So we got a frame of brood, frame of brood. Let's check this other one. Another frame of brood. This is a frame of eggs. This is another frame of resources. All right, I'm gonna close these guys up, go get the brood, and I'll be right back. So here's the game plan. Remove 2 frames out of each hive, give 1 frame of brood, 1 frame of foundation. There's just a little bit too much food in each hive, so I'm gonna let them fill out that foundation whichever way they want. If they fill it back up with honey, that's them. That's just the way that they want to run it, but they'll have the option to fill it with brood if they feel like it. I don't want any swarms, so I'm coming back, putting a box on these, and that way I'll feel a lot better. So let's take out a frame of food. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna shake these guys. That way I get the most amount of bees off. Now put a frame of foundation in, and then a frame of brood. Lots of bees. And no smoke. There's a nice frame of brood. I'm just gonna drop right in the middle here. And that's it. I'm gonna take another frame of brood out just to get it ready for the other hive. Here's the other frame of brood. I'm gonna put it over here. Now I'm gonna clean up these frames because all that wax on the top is gonna make the box that I put on tomorrow all wobbly. The frames are gonna sit on that wax and they're not gonna sit nice and pretty and hang. So I'm just gonna clean that up. I'm gonna also clean up the inner cover here. You could see that there's also tons of wax up here. So clean this up and then I'm gonna close it. Okay, the tops look very clean. The inner cover, very clean. So we're just gonna close this up now. All right, on to the next one. So we're also going to clean the inner cover and the tops of the frame, so I'll get that done now. After going through this hive one more time, I find that there's actually not a ton of honey. What I thought was honey in this frame was actually brood, and there's brood on this frame as well. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna put brood in there, and we'll leave it as is. Nice frame of brood going in. I'm gonna shake these frames into here. Okay, I'll be back tomorrow to put a second box on each hive. I won't show you guys that. So I'll see you guys in 2 weeks and we'll see how much they fill those boxes out. And unfortunately, I went for lunch and turned off my microphone and never turned it back on. So the next couple of inspections, I'm going to be doing a voiceover. We're at Sun Life Financial Center here.
I was really surprised at how much they actually drew out some of these frames. You can see that frame is completely brand new and got drawn out. And we have some really nice capped brood here. Now, I was ready to pop in 2 capped brood frames, just like all the other locations. So what I'm essentially doing here is I'm just checking to make sure that there are no swarm cells before I decide which 2 frames to take out. Now that frame is perfect because they barely even touched it, so I'm just going to shake off the bees from these 2 frames that were barely drawn out. And I'm going to take 2 frames of cap brood that I got from my other hives. There's a beautiful full frame of cap brood. Go one there, and then this is a second one with tons of bees on it, so that'll really help boost that population. I'm going to add a box because those bees are going to hatch out and they're going to need somewhere to sit. And I close up that hive. Moving on to hive number 2. This was a little bit of a roller coaster. I opened this hive up and immediately saw queen cells. And that's what this is right here. So they look like little peanuts. So what they're doing is they're trying to raise a new queen. So either the queen died or something happened to her, and they're actively trying to make a new queen. Um, it's a slow process to make a new queen. It takes about 16 days for her to hatch out, and it's a process that really sets the whole hive back. So I was very happy that I had all this brood available to drop into this hive. When she goes out and gets mated and comes back, I'll be able to find her, and then I will immediately mark her so that it's a little bit easier for me to find. And that was it. So I just gave them some room to grow because those bees are going to hatch out. And that's it. Moving on to Constitution Square, I was able to open up the first hive and I was really excited to find that between the inner cover and the frames, they had started building comb. That usually means that they're starting to run out of room. So I was really excited to see whether or not they were storing nectar and plugging up that brood box. Going through it, I found that there was tons of eggs and also a ton of capped brood. And you can see here that they're starting to make a queen cell. So I decided to go through all the other frames and see whether or not there were queen cells. But I did find the queen. It was actually around this point where I decided, you know what, just to give them more room because there was a lot of food in the bottom box, I went ahead and took out a frame of food and dropped in a frame of brood. That cat brood is going to actually hatch out and it's going to give her cells to lay in. Food frames, they very rarely actually remove honey from those frames during the summer for her to lay. So this is going to actually expand her brood nest quite a bit. Going on to the second hive, I'm just trying to find frames to take out. You can see that there are some frames of food that I'm definitely going to take with me. And since the other hive had a queen cell, I just wanted to make sure that this hive wasn't going to swarm on me either. And after pulling up a couple of frames, I realized that a majority of this hive is cat brood. So this is a perfect time for me to add a box to this hive. Just like the other hive, I'd added a frame of cat brood to expand that nest a little bit more. That way she has more room to lay and that she doesn't feel too cramped and want to swarm.
All right, did that whole thing without audio. That's exactly what I want to do. So in the end, I added a box to both hives. They're looking really good. Queen's laying, there's lots of brood, and I have a really good feeling that we're gonna get a good amount of honey from these guys. When I come back, I'm gonna take the queen excluder and we're going to put the excluder between the first box and the second box. What that's gonna do is I'm gonna take the queen, I'm gonna put her in the bottom box. That way she could only lay in the bottom box. All the brood in the top boxes is going to hatch out and the bees are going to what we call backfill the cells that had brood in it with nectar, and that whole box will become honey. Okay, I'll see you in 2 weeks when I come by and exclude the boxes. Okay, Minto Place. Bees are active. It's a beautiful day and I'm really happy to see that they're out and foraging. Today we're going to be adding some bees. We'll also make a judgment as to whether or not they're going to need a second box. Everybody surprised me so far. However, there are some hives that may be weaker than others, so let's open it up and find out. Oh, wow. All right, let's see what we got going on here. All right, they're drawing this out. There's eggs, young bees. This is good. This is a nice drawn out frame. Lots of new bees walking around. That's these really light ones. See how light they are? Those are bees that are born within the last 24 hours. Oh, nice frame. Beautiful frame of cap brood. Another huge frame of cap brood. Wow, that is awesome. Little bit of cap brood on this, but the other side, not as much. So this was a frame that we put in there, and they've used it to store lots of pollen. Nothing happening on the other side. All right, and then there's nothing on this one. So what we're gonna do is we're going to take the two frames that have pretty much nothing in it. All right, we're gonna put the two frames of brood right here. Look at this nice frame. One frame, two frames, dump the bees. There we go. All right, this looks really good. I am going to add a box, so I'm going to do that right now. I gotta be honest, I'm very impressed with how these hives have been establishing themselves. I've either got some really good queens or the weather this year is excellent. Might be a little bit of both. All right, I'll be back in 2 weeks to get a queen excluder and put it in between these two boxes. What's gonna happen is the whole cluster or the hive is going to move up into that second box. They're gonna start drawing out those frames and putting wax on it. By putting wax on it, the queen is going to want to follow that and lay eggs. I don't want the queen up in two boxes, I want her down in one. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna let her lay a bunch of eggs up the top, and then the next time I come, I'm gonna find her, I'm gonna put them in the bottom box, and then I'm going to put a queen excluder in between the two boxes. That is going to exclude the queen, but it's going to allow bees to walk through this grate. You'll see it next time. And so the bees at the top, the larvae, are going to hatch out, and the bees are naturally going to do something called backfilling, where once the bee is hatched out, they're going to fill it with nectar, and that whole top box will eventually be all honey. So I'll be back in 2 weeks. See you then. Okay, day 2, we're at logistics. It's nice and early in the morning. The bees are out and about. I'm excited to see how much they've grown in here. They've had about 2 weeks to try to fill out this hive. A majority of what's in this hive already is drawn comb, so the queen should have taken advantage of that. However, I did bring frame of brood because I think they might need just a little bit of help, and then we're gonna put another box on these guys. So let's open them up and see what we find. This is mainly all nectar. I see no eggs in this, so this would probably be the frame that I'd take. This is also mainly all nectar. There's larvae in all of these cells. It looks really good. And there's the queen. It's gonna be probably a good amount of bees in here. Yeah. There's a nice frame of cap brood. Stick this right in here. And we're gonna add our box. And that's that. I'll be back in 2 weeks to put a queen excluder between the two boxes, and we'll see how much they've drawn out of that top box. All right, see ya. Okay, we're at Riverside right now, and we're going to add 2 frames of brood. Last time I was here, I had 4 frames of foundation, and it's kind of a lot. So we're gonna take some of the frames out, and we're going to put some frames of brood in. Oh, they're storing honey. Oh yeah, they're storing lots of honey. That is awesome. Oh my God, they're making honey. Ooh, so excited. I'm gonna take some frames out here. Take this frame. Ooh, there's eggs everywhere though. Let's see if the other frame is better. Okay, there's nothing on this frame. Yeah, we're safe. I'm gonna take this frame as well. So I'm gonna take this frame of eggs and stick it back in here. And because I'm adding a second box today, I'm going to be scraping all of that honey off so that the frames could sit nicely. So let's do that now. Now I'm going to add some frames of brood. That's a pretty good frame. Great. Now we're going to take the leftover bees in here and pour them into the hive. Now let's add the box. Gonna scrape the inner cover to make sure that this is going to be nice and flat. I'm excited to see what I get when I come back. And when I do come back, I'm going to put a queen excluder between the bottom box and the top box. That way all the brood in the top box will hatch out. I'll make sure that the queen's in the bottom box. And once all that stuff hatches out, then they're going to fill it back with honey. And that whole box will be honey in about, I'd say, a month and a half from now. Anyways, I'll be back in 2 weeks. See you then. Carlingwood Shopping Center. We are back and I'm very excited to see how well this hive has grown. I think it's going to be very, very busy. So I've brought frames to put in this top box and we're going to give them plenty of room to keep growing. Let's get started. All right, let's take a look and see what we have going on here. All I'm looking for really is to make sure that there are eggs and no swarm cells. Larvae everywhere, looks beautiful. No swarm cells, eggs everywhere, also beautiful. Okay, we've got a frame here with not too much on it. So that makes me happy. It means they're not running out of room. Oh, nice big frame. It's got lots of resources on this. Filling it out quite a bit. Another good frame of brood. How's this looking? Oh, we've got some larvae in here, but a lot of it is hatching out right now. We've got a bee being born right here. Chewing its way out. No signs of swarming in this hive. I'd love to see that. And this last frame looks like it's full of capped brood. Look at that. Oh, all right, great. So this is perfect timing to put a box on these. Because the frames hang and they have to sit, I'm gonna clean all this wax up. So this thing is all nice and cleaned up. Time to put the box on. Okay, time to close this hive up. Hive looks really good. Next time I come by, I'm gonna put the queen excluder between this box and this box. All of the brood that the queen is going to move up and lay in here will hatch out, and then they'll backfill it with honey once I grab that queen and stick her down here. That queen excluder will allow bees to move up and down through the box except for the queen. It's like a grate that is specially designed so that the queen can't fit through it, but every other bee can. Anyways, I'll be back in 2 weeks. I'll see you then. Okay, we're off of Carling Avenue right now with a beehive that I set up last week. I've got 2 frames of capped brood to add to these guys because they had 4 frames of foundation. Now we did get rain a few days ago and it's really exploded flowers in certain parts of the city. Depending on where we are, some hives are creating lots of honey, others aren't. I'm going to be interested to see what we have in this hive. Let's get started. This is a location where they're making honey. Oh wow. They are drawing out those frames. Yeah, this is definitely a location where there's lots of nectar coming in. Wow. This was a frame that was completely, look at this. This is honey they made in 2 weeks. That is incredible. Wow, I can't get over this. There's tons of eggs here. All of this is eggs. The queen is super busy. What I'm gonna do is I'm actually going to move 2 frames. Instead of removing them completely, I'm gonna just move those frames into the top box, and I'm gonna add the 2 brood frames on the bottom. I need to use these brood frames. I'm not bringing them back, so this is what I'm gonna do. At this point, I'm just looking for swarm cells. I'm not seeing anything. I'm seeing lots of capped brood. Oh man, the amount of capped brood. Look at this. These are gonna be really strong hives. Okay. Everything looks good. Not worried about finding the queen. I know she's in here. Plenty of eggs, plenty of brood. So I'm just gonna clean up these frames, and then we're gonna stick the cap brood that we brought into these 2 slots. Let's take some frames of capped brood. Got a frame of capped brood here. Oh yeah, plenty of capped brood. And actually, you can see here, bees just starting to come out. So these guys are gonna come out in the next few days, if not later today. Let's add this. You'll see there are a few frames here that have drawn out. Found these in my storage. Pleasant surprise. Put 1 frame up here. Kind of squeeze these guys together. I am so impressed at how quickly they filled out that box. I can't wait to see what I'm going to find in 2 weeks. They're going to move up into that second box, start filling it with nectar, filling it with brood, and then when I come back, I'm going to find the queen, stick her in the bottom box, and put a queen excluder between the 2 boxes. The queen excluder is going to do what it says. It's going to exclude the queen to the bottom box, and the bees will be able to move freely through this grate. You'll see it next time. Anyways, I'll see you guys in 2 weeks.
Another day, another lunch break. I forget to turn my microphone back on, so I am doing another voiceover here. Westboro, the hive is massive. I open this hive up and I can see tons of comb that's built between the inner cover and those top of the frames. I'm looking at the 2 outer frames. These are the ones that I added last time. It was completely plastic, and they've already started to cap honey on these frames. I couldn't believe my eyes. And it was full of eggs, so the queen is very productive. With such a productive hive, I wanted to make sure that they weren't feeling like they were going to run out of room, and I wanted to ensure that there were no swarm cells. And thankfully, after going through 4 or 5 of these frames, I realized that everybody is really happy and content with staying here, and I wasn't going to risk losing that beehive anytime soon. So I got going and I grabbed the second box, decided to put it onto the hive and wrap it up. There really isn't much else to talk about for this hive. It's just a monstrous hive that just needs room. Anyways, I hope to see you again soon. Bye-bye.
Last stop of the day, we're at 100 Murray Street, and I'm really excited to see how well this hive, when I first installed it, I didn't think it was very strong. I have 2 frames of cap brood, but man, today was full of surprises in terms of how strong these bees are. So I'm really excited to see what these guys look like. When I see comb, fresh white wax like that, that usually means they're on a nectar flow and they've found lots of flowers. Oh yeah. Wow. Oh my God. Okay. This was a frame of foundation that I put in 2 weeks ago. That is full. This is almost, oh my God, so heavy. This is full of eggs. Wow, so impressive. I think I'm gonna have to do what I did last time, which was take 2 frames and stick them up and put the 2 frames of brood down here. I really don't want to put that cap brood back into the hive that I found. So I'm still going to give them this cap brood. We'll just rearrange the top box a little bit. So first things first, I got to clean up all of this nectar here. And I actually brought my bucket this time, so It's gonna be a little bit less sticky for me. Okay, so I'm gonna take those 2 frames, take them out, and put cat brood instead. Now, just to be safe, I will take a look at a handful of other frames just to make sure there's no queen cells that are being made. This is a nice frame of capped. Some more capped. I'm seeing no swarm cells, which is really good. Still no swarm cells. All right, that's good enough. All right, all of these bees are gonna go into here. So this is what's going in. Nice frame of cat brood. This one's got a bunch of bees on it. Let's put this back on. All right, everything looks really, really good. The queen is doing an excellent job, no swarm cells. They're gonna move up into that second box and really fill that thing out. I can't wait to come back, exclude the queen so that they can really start making honey. See you in a couple weeks.